I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, but I would qualify myself as someone who is a bit lazy. How do I know I'm lazy? Well, when I come home from work, I will usually just crash and want to just get on my laptop or watch Netflix or check soccer scores or something. My wife would like me to do more, like be helpful, to clean, to cook, to take care of the jungle that is our yard, to do something. And yet, I often just sort of, I'm just so tired and exhausted, and I naturally just want to switch um, all of my energy off and do something mindless. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with having moments like that where you just need to turn off for a minute and not think about anything. But when you're doing it all the time, it's kind of lazy. And Shauna often asks me what I'm thinking about when I do that, when I sort of turn my mind off. And the funny answer is that I'm someone who often daydreams a lot. So when I come home and from work and I crash on the couch and I flip my laptop open and I start looking at something, I'm usually just thinking about, I wonder what it would be like if I were on a tropical island right now and I had a cold drink in my hand and I had a coconut over there that I could drink from, and I had something, and I would just sort of go off into this daydream world. Or on another day, I might come home and start thinking about, someone mentioned Star Wars. I'm like, oh, how good would that be, right? If I had a lightsaber and I could, battle the evil empire or something. And I find myself getting caught in my laziness. My mind drifts to these sort of daydream fantasies that I have of, I wonder what my life would look like if dot 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 dot. Now, uh, as I mentioned last week, Proverbs is a hard book for me to read, and the reason why it's hard is because it speaks hard truth into my life. And that is particularly true with the proverb that we're looking at today, which is in Proverbs chapter 12, verse 11. Here's what it says: "Those who work their land will have abundant food, but those who chase fantasies have no sense." Those who work the land will have abundant food, but those who chase fantasies have no sense. What's this about? Besides being an indictment on on me and my behavior. Well, it's that the Bible has a very positive view about work. That work is something that existed before the fall of Adam and Eve in the Old Testament. That they had a job, a purpose, and they were working and creating and producing because that's what God is like. God's a God who works and who's creative and produces fruit and life from the work that he does. And we, as God's image bearers, are also supposed to do that, to find joy and contentment in our work, to understand that the things that we do, the hours that we toil, and the things that we produce in our work are actually good, and they're a reflection of what God is like. But for many of us, work we don't think about work that way. And in fact, we often, like I do, will come home from work and we'll start to chase fantasies, right? We daydream about it, the day that we don't have to work anymore. Or we'll plan out vacations or getaways, even if it's only in our mind, so that we sort of fast forward to, maybe if I do these things, if I could have this thing, if all of a sudden, then my life would be better. I would be happier or more relaxed or more joyful. And why this proverb is important is because that it gets us back to the root of what work is supposed to be. Work is a creative activity that reflects what God is like. And when we understand our work that way, as a reflection of who God has made us to be, that it reflects who he is like, then we can enjoy what we do. We can enjoy the work that we do and the things that we produce from it. We will have, as the proverb says, abundant food. But those of us, like me, who chase fantasies, who get home and they think, well, I'd rather be somewhere else, it says they have no sense. They don't really understand how God has created us to be and how the world works. So the challenge for you and for I is to think about our work. And whether you are someone who works in an office, someone who is fulfilling all of your dreams and creative passions in the work that you do, or you're just doing a job because it's not really what you're passionate about, but you're doing it to make ends meet. God is calling us to think about that work. That no matter what you do, whether you are passionate about it or not, this is an opportunity for you to express God's creativity and fruitfulness in the things that you do. That it's actually helpful and beneficial for you and for humanity, and to take joy in it, rather than to be people who think, well, I wish I were elsewhere. So, may you look at your work with joy, and as you do that, may you have abundance from your work. See ya.